All right, welcome, welcome. That was some beautiful music this morning. I'm hoping I was able to figure out how to get it to come through. I think because I was having the audio go internally and not externally, that was the problem. So I'm hoping that you all were able to enjoy that. Welcome. This is Maya Institute here at Elephant in the Room. We're in season two. Trumping away, trumping away. I was watching someone who visited another country, and he was just talking about his trump with the elephants, running around with the elephants, washing them, and things like that. In this particular country, the individual was able to kind of commune with the elephants and just giving some different attributes like how friendly they are, don't mess with their young, things like that, and just how amazed they were, and just his affirmation that the elephant is a wise, wise animal. I tend to agree. That's why I chose the elephant. And the elephant in the room, of course, the colloquialism is saying, the elephant in the room being, uh, the point of the things that we don't want to talk about. So, anyway, my hair is tied up because I just came from my run. I've dried off a little bit. Woo! I've dried off a little bit. And uh, trying to get back into my workout because I've been off for about 4 months. I was in an automobile accident back in December, which I didn't talk about much because that's just how I am. I don't talk about stuff. But I was in this accident and it kind of had me down a little bit, just down just a little bit, just a little bit. But as they say, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. If it kill you, I guess I'll see you next lifetime, right? So we're outside. I got my grass cut. I don't know if y'all can see that. The grass is cut a little bit. It was a little wild last time. This tree that I told you all that I love so much, you see how it was looking so barren last time, remember? When I recorded, it didn't hardly have those leaves on. Now the leaves are blossoming, and I can't wait till the blossoms come out so you all can see it because it is an absolutely beautiful tree. I still did not plant my lemon tree, but she's still looking good. I'm gonna work on that today before I have to go into the employer. I worked a little overtime last night. Brought to you by, right? Just in case they get crazy. Wipe my sweaty face off today. Because when the sweat gets to drying on your face, it don't look quite right, does it? So welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those who choose to tune in. And the show that we're going to present today is going to be our economic enlightenment show. So let me just make sure I'm coming through to you all just fine. I hope I am coming through to you all just fine because I've been talking all this time. I'm coming to find out that the audio don't really tune out on here too much, but I do like to make sure you all are coming through live and clear. You can hear me, so that way I'm not talking for a long time for nothing. All right, so that seems to be coming through just fine, just fine. All right, so today's show is called Economic Tap. Why did I call it Economic Tap? Because you have to tap into the economics in order to propel yourselves to a better place. Now, some people have this down pat, and I would say a lot of people have it down pat because you're living, you're paying your bills, and you are progressing along in life as normal, right? Just doing regular things. But how do we get to a point where we have excess, where we have a savings, where we have money in our bank account, where we're not living paycheck to paycheck? Um, I admire a radio host. His name is Tom Hartman, and he brings a lot of the political uh, issues to the forefront. But he's kind of an economic person too, in that he owns radio programs and if I'm not mistaken, radio stations as well over time. And I heard him say him and his wife have a philosophy where they grind for 5 years and then they take off for about a year, maybe two, if they can afford to do that. But in the time that they're grinding, they're saving up their money so that they can afford to take off for 2 years. That's awesome. If you're able to do that and plan, that is a great way to go. So you're not worried about vacation in that 5 years. You just working, 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 grinding, 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 and then you take off for 2 years. I think that's a better exchange than a month off vacation with an employer, as most of us are tending to model. So, um, when I heard him say that, I said, "Ooh, I really want to work towards something to that effect. Where I'm basically living on my own terms." Um, why am I qualified to talk about economics? I think I've done well over the years. I've kept my head above water. I've had some ups and downs in my life, but I've never been homeless. Um, I've never been so down where I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. It's been close, but that's only been maybe about one moment in time. And at that time, I was just waiting on something to come in, and it did like it was supposed to. But I've pretty much always had a savings. Whether I could touch it or not was a little bit different, but I've always had a savings pretty much. I started saving young when I got my first corporate job years ago, working for a travel company and roadside company. Um, there, I learned the art of saving. And even honestly, before then, I'd been a saver because when I was in high school, um, I pretty much had to start buying my clothes and things like that because, my grandmother kind of moved away from that. And so, I always had a job. I had my first job when I was 15 years old, and I've been working ever since. I've never really stopped working. There's been very small periods in my life. In other words, I've worked more than I have not. I've earned more than I have not earned. And so that's what I feel qualifies me because I have that experience saving and living out here in this world and keeping my head above water. Sometimes having like maybe my uncle, my family member to lean back on. But for the most part, it was on me. I mean, that's just being honest. It was mostly on me. It wasn't anyone else to pick up the slack because nobody else was going to pay my bills for me. I had to pay them. Okay. And I had my oldest son when I was 19 years old. So I grew up pretty fast, because I became a mom. And so I got into gear. It didn't take me time to be like, oh, I'm supposed to work or, oh, I'm supposed to take care of them. No. Anybody tell you when it comes to my children, I've always taken care of my children. I've always been the dominant person taking care of my children with some great support behind me with family members that are willing to help me. But again, they were not paying my bills. I was responsible for paying my bills. And I've pretty much lived on my own since I was about 18 because I graduated from high school when I was 18 due to my birthday being in January and that weird birthday rule that they have. Unless your parents fight for you to go to school when you're 4, about to turn 5 during the school year, you just basically, start school late. So I graduated when I was 18, Northwestern class of 96. And I had been working at that time. I've been working at Best Buy at that time. And I landed a position at a bank. And I moved in with my boyfriend at that time. I know, it's crazy. 18 years old. He was my prom date. He was my oldest son's dad. And we moved in together because, my situation was I felt I needed to move out. Just dealing with some hard knocks at home, dealing with family with mental health issues, and I didn't want to stay there. That was my life. And so I wanted to go to college at U of M. I actually was accepted at U of M, and I had a volleyball scholarship as a walk-on, but I decided to stay and go to Wayne State and save the money because U of M was quite expensive. My uncle was pissed off at me for doing that, for making that choice. But I decided to stay back, work, and go to school, and that's part of my history. which is why I'm still in school now. Because I make that choice. So those are choices that we make in life, those hard not choices to go this direction or go that direction. At the time, it makes sense. But anyway, I had to learn at a very young age how to budget, pay bills, pay them on time, so you don't get put out your house and get things cut off. Okay, and there were some hard lessons learned, but by God's grace, I climbed through. I clawed through. My son's father, now my oldest son's father and I, we were young people trying to make it happen. Had got cars when I was younger. Paid those cars. Ran into a situation where the other person in my household made some mistakes, and then the reset button got hit again, and I had to, crawl, make it work. I was living out in Westland at that time. So funny life. Moved out to Westland, had an apartment out there. The first apartment I had, I love this apartment. I actually literally still have dreams about this apartment because it was such a beautiful apartment. My sister got me in because she was in the same building. She was on the first floor. I was on the third floor. And this was a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment. Had a formal living room, formal dining room. I had a den in my place because the design of my place. My sister's place didn't have a den because hers was just a larger living room. Mine had a den attached to my living room. So my living room was a little bit smaller. It was still a large living room. I had a door that came off of my bedroom. It was a sliding door. And then my bedroom had 2 doors. And the rooms weren't very large, but they were nice. Steam heating, right? That's like old school, but that's like New Center area, Detroit. That's just the way it was. I was literally right down the street from school. And this was a great idea to me because I split the rent with my ex. So you figure about $300 a month. That wasn't bad. I think the rent came in at $610 or something like that because it was a newer place. We had a nice deck off the back of our place. The landlord never completely finished that deck, but it was like a 15-foot deck that was off the back. It had a full-size kitchen. My son, when he was born, he had his own room. So that was just my life. I wasn't living at home with mommy and daddy. I was taking care of bills, taking care of business. I was working at the bank when we moved down there, started school, got pregnant, and then I landed my job uh, at the insurance company, travel company, for many, many years. Many, many years I worked there. I worked at that place for 9 years, and that's how I paid my bills. And we moved out to Westland because, it got to a point where, unfortunately, in the New Center area, if everybody know Detroit, you sometimes you have bums sleeping in your place. So I'm not going to go into the whole gamut of it, but pretty much since my son was 2.5, it was me and him. And then later on, things happened in my life and I progressed. But as a single mom at that time, I really learned how to make money stretch. And people might say, oh, well, there's welfare. You have welfare. No, absolutely not. I never forget. And I just told my cubby pie this story the other day that basically I dealt with a situation where when I was pregnant and my son's father got himself into some trouble and I was pregnant, about 8 months pregnant, I went down. I was about 7 months pregnant. I went down and applied for welfare. I was like, he got himself in some trouble. I don't know what's going to happen with him. And I need to, have food in the house at least. That woman looked at me and she told me, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And I was really upset. Like, why? Why can't you help me? I'm having a baby. My son's father, he's gone. He's away. He can't help me. Um, what's up? I'm not working, right now at this moment because I wasn't working at the bank by the end of my pregnancy. And so he was like, the lady was like, you got to have that baby first. You got to have that baby first. That lesson taught me very early on that you can't rely on nobody. You know what I did? I went down to the temp agency and I got me a job at 7 months pregnant. And they looked at me and knew I was 7 months pregnant. Blue Cross Blue Shield. They knew I was 7 months pregnant. And I told them, I said, ma'am, I'm a good worker. I learn very fast. These are the jobs that I've had in my past, which I was a young lady and I had a pretty good portfolio at that point. I had been working. And I said, I need to work. I'll be here. I'll show up at my job. And I worked at Blue Cross. I worked at Blue Cross for a while, up until it was pretty much time for me to have that baby. And the temp agency, I kept with them for a little while and did other odds and jobs. And then I landed my job at the automobile company, the insurance company. And I worked that job for 9 years. But one thing I had in me was hustle. And unfortunately, I don't see that in a lot of the youth nowadays. They don't have that hustle in them. They don't know how to make those odds and ends meet. They don't know how to make bread when they have to make bread. They kind of are too proud. So that's all ties into economics because, one thing that my boyfriend told me when he went over to Kenya was that what he saw was people moving. The people were moving because the structure of the government is not necessarily a social program to have welfare like we have here. And so he was in Nairobi. And so all he saw was people moving around, moving, selling. I think I mentioned this story to you all before where he saw a woman selling product, um, selling product kind of on her stomach with her baby on her back because the programs aren't like here in the United States, which we have a lot of complaints about the United States, which we should. But the social programs that we have are honestly very good to help out those who are in need to get you back on your feet. They're not permanent programs, but they're meant to get you back on your feet. And so being a young woman, being turned down by the welfare office, pregnant, made me realize that you got you. You got you. And the entire time that, I was with my son and it was just me and I was a single mommy and people like, oh yeah, you can get food stamps. No, I never got any of those things because I worked. And the job that I had at the time was paying me pretty good, for my skill set and level. And I stayed there and kept earning to the point where, I was able to sustain myself. So I always worked. I had what you call a good job. I had a good job. Uh, and I spent a lot of years there kind of feeling comfortable. Um, Circumstances made it to where I didn't feel comfortable going back to school at that time as a young woman. I did things in between there. I attempted at my real estate license and things like that. But anyway, the point is that with economics, you got to try to build a plan. And if you can't have a short-term plan that's going to work, at least build a long-term plan that you can work on and chip away at. Okay. So I just want to talk about some basic things with economics that I don't think some people understand. Some people think they do, but I don't think they do. So, what's the difference between paying bills and put money away for yourself? So some people say you're supposed to pay yourself first. Okay. I learned that from my uncle and from other financial advisors. Um, what was that cat name? Liddell. Oh gosh, I've forgotten his name. I wish I could see how his company's doing, but he was a young brother back in the day. I used to listen to the Mildred Gaddis show back in Detroit, and she was called Talk of the Town at the time. And she would keep you up on a lot of things. Even though I was a young sister, I really always tried to keep my ear to the ground and understand what's going on in this world. And because I've had to deal with such trying things as a person, basically has Texans say pull yourself up by your bootstrap. I had to really learn fast, so I didn't have a lot of time. There were times where I would literally, after paying myself, which was putting away money in my 401, which came in handy because at times I was able to borrow off that money and pay myself back, if I needed something. Like that's how I bought my first refrigerator in a particular place that I moved into when I moved into a 2-family flat from Westland. Because it was just too expensive to stay there with my car note and responsibility. So I found me a 2-family flat, 2-bedroom for me and my son in the city, and that worked out a little bit better. And so, and I ain't gonna even begin to tell you the hustle of Detroit, the insurance game in Detroit, and the hustle that I have done to survive. I hustled, baby. Let me tell you, I hustled to make those ends meet. Folks are trying to figure out how the hell is she doing this. I hustled. So, when I moved into this 2-family flat, that 2-family flat was only $450. The lady was really sweet. She's passed now. And I'm forgetting her name too. But she gave me a chance. She interviewed me. And the way she did her interview, she had you write out this this basically this write out why you think you should get her place. And I wrote mine out, and she said, I really believed in you because you were a young sister, you had your son, and you had your head screwed on straight. By that time, I had been working at my employer probably for about 4 or 5 years at that point. So, I had a solid job, I had a vehicle, transportation. I've always had pretty much new cars for a long time until I tried to get out of the new car gang. Got tired of that. That's another story. But I had my vehicle, and it's just me and my son. So anyway, and I always had a savings, so that's how I used that money. I found out that I could borrow against my 401k because I had been saving all that time, and I had built up a nice amount of money. Now at that time, when I started my employer, which was in '98, that particular employer, they still had pensions. So I had a pension and I had 401k. So I used my 401k. I borrowed against it to pay for my refrigerator and my stove. And my place was a 2-family flat. Didn't have, you didn't get the appliances. You bought your appliances. So I bought, was it the stove and refrigerator? I feel like it was both the refrigerator and the stove. Could have been just been a refrigerator. But anyway, I just remember buying a refrigerator and stove, I feel like. Anyway, I bought that from Sears. And I was so proud. When I had that refrigerator, I was so, so proud. And in that place, that's, where I met my youngest son, Dad. Built life from there. But anyway, the point is that I'm making is it's about sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice to meet the goal that you have? I've sacrificed a lot in my life. My move down here to Texas was a sacrifice. I saved money to do that. And the interesting thing was at the time I happened to not be working, and I wasn't able to find work in the field that I had finished my certificate in. And it just was weird to me, like, wow, I'm doing this and I can't find a job. And I said, okay, and I don't want to go back to working, office clerical jobs at the time because I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do with my life. So I just decided to move and come down to Texas and see what the economy and market was like that. And I thank God that I did because the economy is better here. The marketplace is better, and I am able to save, and I am able to build a nest egg a lot better. And I am finishing, my education that I so long always wanted to finish throughout my life. So using 401k, that's one pointer. Using your 401k to leverage yourself. Your 401k is your savings, right? It's a marketplace savings, so it's variable, and you can lose it. A lot of people don't understand that you can lose that money because it is in the market. There's only so much FDIC insured money within your 401k. It's still, I believe, up to $100,000 is the most that it is, okay? Because that's the bank backing it. Anything above that, the money's gone. So if you're a really aggressive saver, if you know how to move your money around in the marketplace and you've grown your 401k money, that is great, but you have to think about diversifying those funds because if you ever we get caught in a recession bubble again that affects those. It's supposed to be untouchable money, but tell the people at Enron that. Tell all those people at Enron that lost their 401ks. No, it's not untouchable. Nothing's untouchable. Okay? Nothing's permanent in this world. Everything's temporary. Okay? And it's about how smart you move around your money. So me personally, I use my 401k to buy my refrigerator. And later on, I use my 401k to purchase a home. Okay? And partially my pension. I was able to pay cash, for my first home. And so that's not easy, and I took advantage of the market bubble burst to do that. And so, there's just different things we can do financially to propel us. And learning how to move your money and move it smartly and not be such a consumer. And I work on that all the time. It's things I see like, oh, I want that, oh, I want that, oh, I want that. And I could be a consumer too, but I've learned to stop being a consumer and be a planner and be try to be an economic guru in my own respect. To move money around is how you move money around. Some people call it robbing Peter to pay Paul. To a certain degree, it can be, in certain circumstances. When you're a single mom like I was, I found all kind of ways to make that paycheck stretch to the next paycheck. You know, I participated in payday loans one time and got myself out of there. I was like, this is some bull crap. And I saw it right away, like, oh, this is not a good deal for me. And I paid mine off like, I'm good. I only go through y'all for about 2 or 3 cycles, and I'm done. I got out the payday loan business. It's loan sharking at its finest. So I learned that lesson. Took hits on my credit up and down. When my son's father got into trouble, we had 2 vehicles at that point. And so guess who the 2 vehicles was left on? Me. So I took a hit on that, on my credit, and had to build my credit up from then. It's just been a lot that I've dealt with in my life. Learning to file my taxes on time. That was something I wasn't good at one point. I just was like, I don't care about them. I mean, I never owed money, but my ex helped me with that. When he filed all my taxes, he was looking at me like, I can't believe you left all this money sitting on the table. That was just me and my struggle, balancing the money that I had, not worrying about taxes because I really didn't understand it at that time. My sister taught me how to file them by hand. I remember old school, her going to get the 1040 easy forms, and she showed me how to file those forms. Kudos to my big sister. Love her so much. Like I tell her, she don't know how much I admire and look up to her, but she taught me so much, And so that was one thing that she taught me, was how to file my taxes. And so I've always filed my own taxes. I never went to the shop and filed. I deal with my taxes myself. I use the programs that are available now. TurboTax is a great program. So I file my own taxes. These are all ways to save money. You go to the tax man, you have to understand those tax people are an extension of the IRS. And so there's only so much they're going to tell you. They might say, oh, we'll get you your maximum tax. If you can learn to do things yourself, you come out better. I'm talking about court cases. I've had to go fight court cases where landlords tried to hold my deposit. Got my money back. Got my money back. Each and every time now that I think about it. Plus penalty. But not paying me my damn deposit back off the okie doke bullcrap. 2 landlords tried to do that to me back in the city. Even the landlord here, when I was going through the flood, I went through that situation. They was pissed because I got that money back. They couldn't believe it. Like, you don't know who you messing with. And that was, with the help of my company now. So partnerships, man. Women, let me talk to you for a second. The men, life ain't perfect, and sometimes some of us are lucky enough to find the first man the first time, right? Some of us are not as lucky. We go through our cycles, we meet a man, we work out, we move on, etc., etc. But if you're going to have a man in your life, this is part of economics too. If you're going to have a man in your life, if he is not contributing to your financial portfolio, you do not have time. I don't care about that ride or die. I'm down for my man. Yes, that's fine. I get what you're saying. But there's a timetable to that. I've always believed in a timetable. If he is not able to financially propel you, contribute, you got a project that you're trying to work on, and he don't have no resources to help you, don't know nobody, can't do nothing, you are spinning your wheels and you are wasting your time. And you think you're going to lose because, he was great in one arena. We know you know what I'm talking about. And, I just can't let him go. The only arena that really gets up here and here is the arena to help propel me. If that arena that is not there, then nothing else matters. Nothing else works. That's the best way I could put it to you without being vulgar or raunchy. I'm not trying to be raunchy because, parents and kids might tune into the show, but this is important for young ladies to understand. I've always been that sister. Let me tell y'all something. My oldest son father, when I met him, you know what the first thing he offered me? His vehicle. So it was something about me when he saw me and the way that I held my head up high and the way that I carried myself that he said, I can't even come to her empty-handed. Through the trials and tribulations that we had, one thing, that man always took care of the house. He always took care of the house. He brought the money home. With all the struggles that we had, he brought the money home. And that carried on into my future relationships that I chose to have. My life's not a perfect one. I don't have the cookie cutter life. My life is not like, oh yeah, I met my high school sweetheart and we got married and we stayed together forever. No, that's not my life at all. My life is an imperfect life. It's a life full of trials and tribulations. I started off from the word go, jump, run. That's just been my life. My life's always been that way. And I'm okay with it because, I've learned so much. But economically speaking, young ladies, you cannot afford to waste your time with a gentleman who cannot financially prepare you, because as people of color, we're already starting on a deficit to a certain degree. Um, we have pitfalls and roadblocks in our way that systematically have been set up that way, and you could get around them, but it's going to take wisdom. It's going to take your ability to be able to see in depth what's going on, and it's going to take your ability to be able to be good with money. And I watch black people move around. We figure it out. We're not as bad off as people say we are. We do have a lot of issues. We don't know how to work together, but overall, with all that has been thrown at us, I think we do pretty good. We figure it out, okay? But we've got to do better with our unity. We do our unity better and start sharing with each other a little bit more. We'll be a little bit better. But I've had to hustle pretty much my whole life, especially sometimes when you don't. Having your parents don't mean that you hustle or you don't hustle, because I know people who've had their parents and they've struggled still, but from my perspective, I didn't have the mommy daddy factor. They died when I was 2 years old, and so I had to. It's a lot of things that you just got to figure out because you don't have that type of support system. You have your family that love you so much, but it's different. I don't know how to explain it. It's just different. Like the loyalty that I have for my children is just different than anybody else could ever have. My family could love, if something happened to me, my family could love on my children. They could take care of them. I believe they would take care of them. But the mindset is different when you're dealing with your seed. And so I try to teach my boys economics. So young ladies, please make sure to protect your financial portfolio. Okay, stop lending yourself out to people that you can't afford to. So one of the rules of money lending, right, is if you can't afford to lose the money or not care about it coming back to you, you can't afford to lend it. Because if that person doesn't pay you back and it puts you in a financial peril, then you've just set two people back. That person who probably ain't going to do right the next time and with the next person anyway. And also, they just messed you up. And now you have no recourse. You're going to take them to court and spend more money? Probably not. You're just going to have bitter feelings. So stop loaning money out to people that you don't have the money to loan to, meaning it's not excess. If it's not $200, $300, $400, $500 that you don't care about, if they don't pay me back, in your mind, you want them to pay you back. You telling them pay me back. But in your mind, if they can't pay you back, you hit, and that's going to put you in a peril. No, you can't do that. I don't care whether sister, auntie, brother. You cannot do that to yourself. You're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing that person a disservice. And then repeat offender loaners. People who come back and they always need a loan. They always short. That's a problem. So either it needs to be a sit-down conversation with that person and say, hey, listen, can you show me what you're doing? And maybe we can figure out where the money is going. Most people not going to want to do that with you. They're going to be like, forget you then. You think you better than me, blah, blah, blah. Well, hey, it's my money. I got to know where it's going, and unfortunately, this is the measure which we live by in this society. So I have to be cautious about the way I lend out money. Okay, so that's two things, sister. Who you share your financial bed with is important, and who you lend your money to is important. Chronic loaners, people who always need loans. Somebody always got to borrow some money, always needs some money. They're not doing something right in their financial portfolio. Drinking my water from my workout. I got my outfit on. I'm actually coordinating, y'all. My pants match my shirt, my shoes match my pants, and my scarf was matching everything. You know what I'm saying? I was coordinating with a spoon, coordinating. So that's one thing that we have to think about when we're trying to be financially smart is how we're dealing with our money. Are we respecting our money? Are we more consumers than planners? Some people just say savers. Well, some people just save. They don't do nothing. What's the point? I do believe in enjoying my money. So if I'm saving, what am I saving for? A rainy day. Okay. That's one fund. What about, if I want to travel? What about if, I see something that I want, for my children? What about investing in your children's education? That's something I do heavily. I buy stuff for my kids to learn from all the time. A lot of my resources go towards that. I'm always buying them something that's going to help them grow, whether it's what they're into. I just bought my youngest son, my oldest son, man, he benefited so much from that over the years. And, that's why he's the athlete that he is now, trying to work on himself. But he's a great athlete, just love that man. He's a grown man now, and, I fuss at him and get on him. He's trying to get into some other activities, but, I harp on him about economics all the time. Son, what's going on? How much you got in your savings? Nothing? Okay, well, you are a poor student. I get that. But why don't you have any money? What are you doing wrong? Or are you looking at some hustles that you could be doing in between everything that you're doing to keep you a couple extra dollars? These are things that I'm reminding him of. My youngest son, that's more of his strength, to be honest. I think he kind of more like me in that respect. And his dad isn't bad at money either, but just as far as the strength, he's financially sound. He's always think about his money. He'll take his money and spend on his lunch, or, oh mom, I paid this, I paid that for this, and I don't even have to tell him. He just does it. My oldest son, he'll spend all his money and be like, well, I ain't got no money. You got to get better, son. So everybody have different strengths and weaknesses. Some of us are impulsive, some of us aren't. That's another thing to work on. Impulse spending is your enemy. I think we all suffer from it to a certain degree. But impulse spending is your enemy. Okay? If you're the kind of person that got to throw a party all the time and you ain't charging nothing at the door, I don't think that's wise. It's good for friend building, but it's not good for when you don't have your rent money and everybody like, didn't you just throw but you just had a whole bunch of people over. But okay, no. If you spending your bill money to make people happy and have people over because you want company, you're gonna have to work on that, sis and brother. You're gonna have to work on that. That's not cool. You can't do that. So that's another bullet point to write down. Do not spend bill money on leisure. I don't care if you got $5 left. Do not spend bill money on leisure. You're just going to have to go without. Meaning, if you wanted to get your hair done, if you wanted to get your nails done, you better go buy whatever pack of beauty supply weave you got to buy and get that gel and get to doing your hair in a ponytail. Okay? You can't afford to stream tripping today. You can't afford to electric, water. When you paid them that money, that's exactly what you did. That's economy. So think about that before you run out and act like that you got to have your hair done when you don't have your bill money. There are some of us that are suffering from that. Or you had to have that party and drinks and liquor and alcohol when you didn't have the money for gas to put in your car to get to work the next day. These are very deep things that I'm saying, and they sound like I'm trying to tag people, but I'm not. What I'm saying is that we have to be fiscally responsible. This is the economics of it. It starts at home. How can we? The reason why we can't pool our money together is because many of us don't trust each other because we don't trust ourselves. We know how we do with money at home. We know that we're not making the best choices when it comes to money, economics, and finance. And so that's why we don't trust anybody else. That's why we don't trust anybody else. Let's see how this sound coming through. Again, I got to check it. Check it. Yeah, we good. All right. So y'all hear that wind? I can hear the wind whipping back when I was listening to the audio. That wind whipping, it feels so good out here, man. And just getting back out here, trying to get back into my 4-day exercise thing. I feel pretty good. I still feel sensations and things like that, but I think I'm ready. It's been 4 months and I can't sit down. It's just not my style. All right. So the things that we buy to invest into our children, to invest into ourselves. If the things that you're buying don't offer any value for the future, you really should reconsider buying them. Those shoes, those clothes. Some of us need to be shopping at the consignment store. We think that we got to shop at Macy's and JCPenney's. Oh, hell no, I don't shop anywhere else. You are on a consignment store budget. Okay? You don't have the money for clothes like you think you do. But you could stretch your dollars if you're willing to consignment store shop. What? I ain't doing that. My kids only wear Guess. Okay, well, perhaps that is the reason why you are still in the financial bubble that you are in. Financial deficit. These things matter, the way we spend our money. And it affects all of us. It can affect me. If I don't have good spending habits, it can affect me. Okay? So leveraging the tools that we have, if your paycheck is all that you have, you're going to have to look at investing in your company's 401k because it's money that you can't touch. It's pre-taxed. It comes out before taxes. And when you think about it on your tax burden, because we claim so many exemptions on our W-4. So when you're claiming those exemptions, you might say 2, 3, 4, whatever, based upon how many dependents you have in your household, including yourself as the head of household. That's another way to lessen down your tax burden that you pay every pay period, because when it comes out pre-tax, that means that the amount available for tax from your gross is a lot less, because they can't factor that in. Once they take out that 50, 60, 70, $100 from your for your 401k allotment, just like when you pay into your medical insurance, when that happens, say your paycheck was $1,000 for that week, okay? Once you take those items out, now the taxable income is $700, okay? Because you put so much in your 401k, you put so much in your medical and insurance and allotments that come out pre-tax. And so now that the tax man is saying, I can't tax $100, now I can tax $700. That's how that works, in case people didn't understand that. So what you're doing is you're lessening your tax base. And even more, at the end of the year, they let you take a second allotment for those savings, for taking that money out, for that, for withholding that money from your check and allowing the government. Basically, what the government is saying is that you're allowing us to take ownership of this fund. And we're using that fund. We're calling it 401k, but the government is using that fund to make other investments. That's how economics work. Everybody set money to the side so that somebody else can use that money, borrow against it, and pay it back with interest. That's what the government does with our tax money. That's what the government does with the 401k funds. That's what they do with bonds. The concept is similar. We're letting everybody put money into a pool. That's what insurance companies do. Insurance companies say everybody put money into a pool so that we could pay the risk of the higher based upon a lower paying into this pool. So the people who don't make the claims are paying for those who do make the claim. But it's so much money coming into the coffer that we're really not worried about it, because we've already assessed, the actuaries have already assessed how much of that money will go out and how much of that money will we be able to use and invest into the marketplace so that we could bring interest in onto that money and still have enough money for those who may have a claim. That's how insurance works. Just learning more about the economy around you, studying the economy around you. Look at the housing market with our houses. Why do people say home ownership is important? Because the equity that you build into your home is what you can use to leverage for loans, personal loans, or against your house, so that you can go out into the marketplace and do other things, not just buy. Some people use their home equity loans and go out and go shopping, or going on, expensive travel trips, which, you could say, hey, that's your way, because you're paying at a low interest rate. Most home equity loans come in at 3.99% on the high end, sometimes 1.99%. So you're paying yourself back into your home with interest. You're borrowing against your own home. So long as you pay that loan off and don't default, it's yours. Your house, you bought it at $70,000, say, for example, and in 2 or 3 years, the market improves in your neighborhood, and now your home is worth $100,000. So between that $70,000 which you purchased it for and $100,000 in which it ballooned to, now you have a $30,000 cushion that you can loan against. The bank sees that as leverage and says, "Oh, well, that's less than what you loaned for. Your house is worth more. We'll give you a home equity loan." And they want to do that because they want to make money off of your money, because you're paying them interest. That interest goes back to them. It doesn't go to you. It goes to them. But you pay the equity back into your house, that you leverage. And some people do that to start a business. That's why it was so important during World War II when they wouldn't loan to all veterans based upon race. That's why white America was able to get a head start, because they purchased a home. Probably then them houses probably cost about $7,000 maybe. They loaned for $7,000, and in 20, 30 years, some people are still in those houses. Do you know how much those houses are worth? Grandpa and them, or great grandpa and them, that bought the house and willed it over to grandpa, and now daddy got it. That's been in the family, and they done borrowed off that house so many times, but now that house is paid off because the family is being fiscally smart, and now that house is at 100% equity, and that house now is worth $200,000. You tell me what the profit margin is on that. What percentage? That's basic economics. That's what Dr. Claude Anderson is trying to help you all understand in his book, Powernomics. This is Finance 101. This is how America became wealthy. This is how people in America became wealthy. Leveraging. It's leveraging. That's it. Playing with money, playing with numbers. We don't understand these things because we just think it's all hogwash, and they just don't. I don't understand. Or we buy a house and sit in it for 30 years and don't do nothing but pay it off. No, that's not what that house is for. You have to find a business to invest in, or if you don't want to open a business, find somebody else who's business minded and invest in them. Write out a contract with them. I put $5,000 into your business, and I want a rate of return of, I don't know, 7%. I don't know. I'm just making up numbers. So once you want to open up a food business, okay, well, I have enough equity in my house. I'll invest in your restaurant, and you need $5,000. You need equipment. Okay, so I'm gonna give you this $5,000, but off the profits of your restaurant for the next 3 to 5 years, I want to be able to make 10% off of your sales. Contracts, deals, leverage, investments. That's what they say you need to invest. They're not talking about just going out into Wall Street and investing. They're talking about in your community. You know somebody who you know is a go-getter, but they just don't have the money, but you got the money. Try this in your families. People say, "Oh, families don't mix with money." What are you talking about? This is how America got started. Was family run business and investing family money back into the family. What are we talking about here? We got our mind all twisted up here. That's how families are able to become wealthy, is that they keep it in the family. First the family, like I was saying in the hair shop, on my Facebook feed. Then it goes into the community. Then it goes into the government and the politics. Local politics, state politics, federal politics. That's how it works. Leverage. Now I could talk to these politicians with some kind of power. Because in my community, I'm the business owner, and this is what my clients are complaining about. I'm also complaining about it because I'm a voter, and we're gonna bond together. We're gonna go, and I might have a couple extra dollars in my business, and I'm gonna take $10,000, and I'm gonna have everybody else contribute, and we're gonna go to Congress, and we're gonna bribe their asses, because that's what Congress wants you to do. They want you to bribe them. They call it lobbying, but it is bribing. Political action committees. They're paying money to these congressmen to get their bills through. And that's the part of economics that we are missing. So just simple savings, okay? So how can you just do a simple savings account? Now, some people tell you go open those interest-bearing savings account. I'm against them. But for a youngin, I say it's okay for your youngster to show them how to save. But 18 and over, I don't like savings accounts. That's just me personally. I think they're a waste of money. Money market accounts, just looking at the interest that they're yielding. CDs. If you're the kind of person that don't need to touch your money and you have a hard time not touching your money, a CD is good. Just make sure you look at that cap. But CDs don't allow you to touch the money for a certain allotment of time, 6 months, 13 month CDs usually, 15-month CDs, things like that. And what it does is it builds interest on the money that you put in. But CDs are really helpful for people who have large amounts of money, and they want that to gain interest fast. When you're working with small amounts of money, it's going to accrue amounts of interest. But if you're the kind of person that can't, you have to touch your money, you need it to be locked in somewhere, CDs are good for you. But you want to be competitive and look around at the different financial markets to see whose CDs are performing the best, and build you a CD there. When you do things like that, what you also do is you leverage to those companies that you're doing business with, because they say this person knows how to save. So when you go into that same company and try to get a mortgage, you're able to get that mortgage because they're saying you're doing business with us. Oh, I've been watching your savings account. Next thing they do, they're approaching you with a credit card offer. First thing they do, they see that you keep money in your savings separate from your checking. You're using your checking to pay out. Your checking is not really, you can use your checking for interest accruing, but your savings kind of does a better job at that. And it's usually higher yielding. Well, savings usually your lower yielding. But your checking account, you kind of moving money around in that a little bit more because you're paying bills out of it. But if you are able to build a relationship with a bank where you say you get your tax money, right? Leave your tax money in that bank for a little bit and pay bills out of that bank. Let your payroll go through that bank. Most banks are offering direct deposit at no additional fee. Stop messing up your checking accounts. That's another thing. I hear people, oh, I messed my checking account. Stop. I'm sorry to be frustrated. I'm really not trying to be judgmental, but it's just frustrating to me because we are being our own worst enemy. Stop jacking up your checking account. You know why these net spend companies and these prepaid card companies are so popular and they making money? They're loan sharking you because they're charging you per transaction usually when you're withdrawing, because most of them are not affiliated with any kind of bank. And every time you go to the ATM, they have very few ATMs that you can use without a fee. So you're feeding money, you're funneling money into the system when all you have to do is maintain your checking account. Don't overdraft it. If your bank asks you or credit union asks you, do you want overdraft protection? Tell them no. Because what happens is nobody's really writing checks anymore. That was really good for people who wrote checks back in the day to cover yourself. But we're not writing checks anymore. We're using our, our debit cards. So sensibly, to have overdraft protection is senseless. All you're doing is letting them loan shark you because they're charging you $38, $35, $25 every time you go over it. I'll cover it, but I'm going to charge you $25 for that. Why would you give them that money? They didn't earn it. Tell them, no, I don't want overdraft protection. So when I swipe my card and I don't have the money, you don't get to purchase. Some people saying, well, that's, I got to do that because that's how I make it from check to check. Okay. Here's another thing that we could do to try to help resolve that. Write your bills down every single month. I don't have my paper out here, but you write down January, February, March, April on different 12 pieces of paper. Back and forth, front and back page is 6 pieces of paper, okay? So front and back, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, okay? Front and back. It's 12 months in a year, 6 pieces of paper, front and back. It'll fit. Staple them together. In one column, you write down due date. So one column, due date. The next column, you write down biller or company. Bill or company, right? Bill/company. So this is the name of the company in which you owe a debt or you pay reoccurring every month. The next column after that, you're going to write balance. Now, some of these may have a balance, some of them don't. Like if you have credit cards, this is good to keep track of your balances. Write them all down. When you write down what you pay out, you begin to think differently because you're like, damn, I'm paying out a lot of money. How can I get to paying these people off? If you just paying your bill here, paying them, maybe you pay this person late, maybe you pay this person on time. Oh, I just paid a late fee. I have to pay the late fee here. You're paying out too much money. You're killing yourself. Write your bills down every month. At the end of the year, reflect on what you have paid out. Look at what you have paid off. If you are paying the minimum balances on your credit card, you are in trouble because you're not paying them off. You're charging more than you make. And you will never pay them off. Look on your credit card bill because they're now required. They weren't required to do this before. They're now required to tell you if you pay at this rate, when will you pay it off? So begin to write your bills down every month. Do that as a project for yourself. Write them down every month religiously. What you paid out. So there's a column for the due date, who the biller is, and I forgot to say, I'm sorry, amount, the amount that you're required to pay. And you can put a little check mark when you pay it off, that amount. And then put your balance, especially for those credit cards. Some of them will have a not applicable at the end of that for that balance, but some of them will have a ongoing balance. So you write down the balance so you can see, am I paying this off? Am I spending my wheels? Because if you're paying the minimum pay, all you're paying is the interest. You're not paying the principal. Sometimes you have to pay your bill twice, even though you're not required to pay it twice a month if you want to aggressively pay it off. These are just small concepts. They're not hard. They require your dedication. They require your diligence and your attention. If you really want to get out of debt and if you really want to become more financially stable, these are tools that I've learned over time that helps. And they work because I've done them. If you're in a bad credit situation, finding a credit restoration company that is reputable, that works with attorneys that know the tax laws and codes as far as credit is concerned. Not tax laws, the credit laws, as far as how long a debt could be on your credit. What happens when it becomes charged off? What does that mean for your credit portfolio? Disputing items that are inaccurate, incorrect, or misrepresented. All these things matter when it comes to your credit portfolio and scoring. Okay? Getting with a company that you can monitor your credit each month for a low cost. $15 a month isn't bad. Some of them are free, but not all of the free ones will tell you your FICO score. So you want to get with some of the free companies that allow you to pay a low monthly rate and look at your credit every month. Sometimes when you subscribe to a credit restoration company, they'll give you access to your credit report every month. Some of them don't. Some of them work for a fee. If you're trying to buy a home, some mortgage companies will actually work with you for free and put you under their umbrella to work on your credit because it's in their best interest to get your credit right because now you're getting a loan for them for 30 years. So you have a lot of different tools available to you if you're willing to work at it. Okay, so writing your bills down. Leveraging your existing savings, your 401k. Instead of leveraging through a credit card company, if you have enough money in your 401k, it is more beneficial to you to borrow from your 401k. It's not a penalty. I didn't say withdrawal. A withdrawal is different than borrowing against your 401k. Borrowing against your 401k is perfectly acceptable. You're loaning against yourself. You're borrowing your own money at an interest of usually about 6%. And you're paying yourself back. You hear me? So you borrow from your 401k. You borrow from yourself and you paid yourself back. Why would I give a bank or a credit card 15% interest when I could borrow from myself at 6% interest and pay myself back and it goes right back into my coffer? Financial manipulation. These are tools that the wealthy have been using for a long time now, and they hadn't really been sharing with people. And when you see some of these market products come out, it's because they're able to benefit and leverage off of it. It's not because they want to give a gift to you. It's because they found out a way to leverage. They're getting more money than even what you're getting. Nothing's free. Okay? Paying off loans early. Most loan companies now have to use simple interest. Before they were able to use compound interest, but the laws have changed, and I believe compound interest is completely illegal now. So all loans are simple interest loans. Okay, you pay your flat percentage or variable rate. Variable rate still exists, but either your simple fixed rate. So basically, what the difference between simple and compound interest is: simple interest is one set amount on the life of the loan. Variable rate means that that amount can go up and down per month, okay, over time. It can vary based upon the market, but it still ends up being one amount. The compound interest was every month that your loan accrued, more interest could get added onto it. It's the simplest way I can explain it. So if you wanted to pay your loan off, sometimes they will penalize you for paying it off. It's another form of loan sharking. So paying our loans off. When can we afford to pay our loans off? Tax time. So instead of taking $5,000 and making it rain, take $2,500 of that and put towards your principal of any loan that you have, and maybe keep $2,500 for yourself. Because what did you just do? You say, I can't do that. What did you just do? You just took $5,000 and bought clothes and had a party and a barbecue. Those are non-profiting entities. You did not make any money off of any of those endeavors. Therefore, if you take $2,500, at least half of that money, and apply it towards any of the loans that you have on your account, on accounts that you have saved yourself interest. Because that's the game. That's why these banks are killing it, because they make it so much interest. Even if you don't pay that loan off and you default, and they laughing at you because they got their money up front anyway. That's the way. If you look at your car loan and you look at the design of it, they show your principal and they show your interest. If you look at the breakdown of those payments, what they do is they say, we're going to have you pay the interest right off the top. Then we'll get into your principal. If you look at it slowly but surely, they start adding your principal into it. So it is in your best interest that when you're paying your car loans, your home loan, to pay an extra payment if you can afford to. Because what you're doing is lessening the amount of interest they can charge over time. So one way. I was going to say something else. I think I lost my train of thought. Sorry. I should have wrote some of this down, but I kind of had it up here because I like talking economics with people. Economics is fun to me. If I didn't love medicine and biology so much in that field, economics would be second for me. I love economics. Economics just makes sense to me. You know, it just makes a whole lot of sense to me. Um, let's see, what else are we talking about? We talk about paying off loans early. We talk about writing down our bills each month. We talk about leveraging our 401k for our personal loans instead of going to banks because you're paying a higher interest and you're paying them back, not yourself. Um, we talk about making extra payments on your loans. I don't know why I can't remember that one thought that I had. Okay, well, I guess we can start talking about payday loans. Man, payday loans have swept into the black community and it has decimated people. Literally decimated people. The concept of a payday loan is you don't go to a bookie anymore, right? It's the payday loan place. And what they're leveraging now, some of them will leverage your car. Down here in Texas, they had a title loan that leverages your car. I don't know if every state allows the title loans. So some of them work nationwide and they'll work in different states, but they're not housed in your state. But with the title loan, what you're using your car is as a lien. So they could put a lien on your car until you pay that loan off. The interest on those loans are usually upwardly to about 25 to 30%. It could be as high as 300% in certain cases. That's why a lot of states were trying to outlaw some 600%. It's crazy. Because if you look at the concept, I could borrow $300 from you. And you tell me, okay, you can borrow $300 from me. Let me look at my chart. Oh, that's going to be $50 or $75. Calculate the interest on that. Just do simple division. And it tells you the interest rate in which you paid on that loan. If I'm not mistaken, the amount of the loan in the numerator and the amount that you pay back to them in the denominator, and that is your interest. It's too much money. It's too much money. And what happens is the people that's borrowing the money usually don't have it in the first place. They never had it in the first place. It's not like, oh yeah, when I get paid, I'll get it. What they saying is when I get paid, I'm going to give you that money back and I'm going to take out another loan. And so it becomes this relentless cycle of borrowing. I've been in that cycle too. But I mean, to a degree, I had the extra money, but I just wanted to do a little something extra. But when I saw how it was working, I was like, just take the money. Just take the money. So you're not leveraging anything. They're leveraging you. It's an awful, awful thing that has been allowed. And I think yeah, because you still have cash advance places, which they do the title loans, but they also do the payroll loans. And so what they're doing is they're saying we're leveraging your paycheck. Your paycheck is your lien. And because you signed up with us and gave us your banking account number, I can now, in addition to, because I know where you work, I can ask your payroll to give us the money if you default. I also can go into your checking account and empty that out if you go into default. So if you don't have the money and you gave me your checking account and that was already negative or close to being negative, dollar or so in it, and that you didn't give them their money, and they go into your checking account, you now owe the bank. Because the bank's going to pay them because you told them to leverage that account. And the bank has to be held for that. But because you own that checking account, it's yours. It belongs to you, has your social security number on it, et cetera, et cetera. Then the bank can now say, now you owe us. And if you don't, the payday loans don't even have to go to the credit reporting agency. They just go to your bank and your bank goes to the credit reporting agency. So you say, oh, I don't care. Yes, you should, because now your credit is jacked up. So now remember when you tried to get that car loan? They'll still loan you a car because that's how car loan companies are. They will still loan you the car and forgive you of that, but they are going to charge you an astronomically higher interest rate. So you still lose. You're paying a higher interest rate because you didn't want to pay your payday loan when you should have took the payday loan in the first place. Sounds like I'm preaching. I'm sorry, but this is what's happening. And this is how I describe these things to my son when I'm helping him build his credit. Oh, that's another tool I was going to tell parents. That's a tool that you can use. If you have good established credit, you can help your children establish credit without the drama. How do you do this? You can add your children onto your current credit card. Find one of your lower credit cards that you don't really care about, one that you've had a long history on. Add your child on as an authorized user. They get that credit history. It automatically becomes part of their history. That's an easy way to help your kids establish credit. And from there, they can apply for their own credit cards, low credit card. You don't have to do all the secure credit card if you don't want to. If you have good credit, you can help your children have good credit. See, this is how America works. America is about nepotism. Who do you know? What do they have? So if you got family with good credit, you got good credit with us because your family got good credit. Black people, help your children have good credit. Stop hoarding everything to yourself. Share with them. Help them to leverage. I don't know how many countless people I know that their parents didn't have one credit conversation with them at all. And maybe more than likely because their credit was bad. They didn't talk to their kids about how much they earn. They don't talk to their kids about how to pay bills. You can make them kids look at that worksheet I told you that you should create. Make your kids look at that. Let them understand how much it costs to live as an adult. And maybe they won't try to adult so fast. Maybe they'll say, maybe I need to take some time. Go to school, get myself educated, because this is expensive. How much do you pay, mama? Where do you get the money? I don't know, son. I don't know. I don't know where I get the money half the time. So educating our kids is very important in economics. We have kept our kids in the dark and ignorant. I hate to say this, but my family kept me in the dark. They didn't disclose to me income, how much they make, how much you could make. They didn't talk about their finances. It's just a secret in the Black community. It's just a big dirty secret. Don't ask me how much I make. You don't need to know how much my paycheck is. What you need to know what my credit score is. Well, unfortunately, sweeties, in many other culture groups, this is a normal conversation. The kids understand how much is coming into the house. And the reason why they understand what's coming to the house is because it changes the brain map. The brain map then says, ooh, maybe I should stop asking for that. The conversation my kids have with me is, Mom, I do need this, but can we afford it? That's the conversation they have with me. They don't just say, I want this, and I want them to ask me, can we afford it? If we're out shopping at the grocery store, my youngest son is constantly asking me, because my oldest son, he do his own thing, so he don't really be in the grocery store with me no more. My son say, Mom, well, how much? I got him looking at the grocery, the different variations of brands, and I got him looking at who's the least expensive. Why are we buying this brand over this brand? Why can't we just buy the off brand, Mom? Certain ones were like, I kind of like this brand the way it tastes better, but why can't we buy the off brand, Mom? It's the same thing, it tastes the same. Ketchup, mustard, same thing. Sometimes different mustards taste a certain way, but it's really funny how you get yourself used to do whatever. If your mama bought it your whole life off brand and you ain't know no better, guess what? That mustard good as hell. We teach our kids brand. If I always bought off brand or whatever brand for mustard, my kids like mustard. That mustard tastes a little bit more tangy, but it's mustard. Ketchup, honey, sugar. Do I have to have the brand name sugar or can I have the off brand sugar? Is it really that much of a difference? If you're a milk drinker, I buy this particular. I don't even buy this brand milk, but the store brand had it cheaper. Why do we spend more money on the seemingly same products? So that's another economic diamond right there. Learning to shop off brand. Because off brand is a brand. It's a brand by another company. That's all. It is a brand. It's a brand. It's just not the national brand. It's the local brand. We're not being wise with our money, and we're not making the leading companies be competitive because we're telling them that we prefer you because you're you. Yes, they built a brand and a reputation, but they doing just as much dirt as everybody else. So what make them any better? They're not any better. We have to think about these things, and we're not thinking about these things. What's something else I could tackle? We talked about credit card debt. Oh, refinance your credit card. Sometimes we have a credit card company that we're loyal to because we've had them for so many years. They were the first person to give us credit. I just love them. Thank you. But when's the last time you made them reevaluate your interest rate? Do you call them and say, hey, I'm paying a pretty high interest rate. This is a card I started off. What other card do you have in your arsenal that I can try out? Oh, we've got the Platinum Plus Black Gold card, and you qualify, Miss So and So, and it's at a 2.99 interest rate. Oh, well, I have the card that I had with you since when I graduated from college, or I started in college, and it's at a 25% interest rate. Why are you paying 25% interest rate when you qualify for 3.99? Because you didn't know to call the company and ask them what current offers do they have and can they convert you into that new card. Yes, that other card is just sitting there because you don't want to cancel it, but once you get that other card built up, you can let go of that other card and cancel it. Because guess what? You're paying an annual fee just to have the stupid thing. And it was the first card that you ever built, so that interest rate on it is so much higher. You're not benefiting. Get the second card, build it up for 2 years, a year. A year really is all you need, and get rid of that other card. You're paying an annual fee. You giving them money to have credit when they're willing to give you credit for free. So reevaluating your own portfolio. Look at your credit card debts. Does your bank offer you a personal loan that allows you to refinance your credit card debts, pay them off, and pay it at one simple rate that's much, much lower? If they do, you need to refi and keep doing it. Because once the bank see that she's the kind of person that's going to pay this debt. Hey, so yeah, remember when they said they was going to offer you 7.99% on that personal loan? Guess what? We offer it at 4.99. I can save 3%. Sold. This is no brand loyalty. You're not loyal to these financial institutions. You think it's about being loyal to them? They don't give a damn about that. You are looking for the highest bidder, in reverse, the lowest bidder, but you are looking for the person that's going to give you the best rate. If you got to keep flipping your credit cards every year to this company, that company, because you keep getting a better rate, so be it. So be it. I'm looking at doing that now. I refinanced my credit cards to, one bank after the flood happened. They were offering people flood loans like crazy. Guess who took an opportunity with that? Oh, yes, I was in Houston. I was affected. So I am about to refinance my credit cards. Yes, a great opportunity out of a disaster. This was a disaster zone over here. But guess what? I was able to take advantage because now these credit card companies got grants from the federal government that say, hey, let's stimulate this economy. People gonna need loans because they gotta, go out and buy materials and all this. Well, guess I may have not had to buy materials this time around. The year before that is when I suffered. But I was able to take advantage of that. It's looking for me. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Pause. Yes, baby, I'm outside doing my show. What you need? Free lunch? Oh, Lord. Okay, bye. Oh, greedy, but call and tell me about a deal. I don't need to be eating that anyway. So, drink my water. So, these are all financial options that we should be exploring. If we hadn't thought about them, we need to begin to think about them. You have to leverage what you have. The little bit that we have, you have to leverage. You have to spin it around. Stop thinking that you got to keep being loyal to one credit card or one bank. Make them compete with each other. They will compete with each other on their own. Sometimes I have to go in online and say, unsubscribe, unsubscribe. Damn, stop sending me offers. It's a good thing because they used to be able to send you credit cards just in the mail. Oh, you approved. And no, I'm glad somebody else fought that good fight because that's ridiculous. But I get offers, and it's like, I don't need this. Unsubscribe, unsubscribe. And then when I feel like being bothered with them, subscribe, subscribe. It's about you and your financial portfolio. Such a beautiful day out here, y'all. It is beautiful out here. You see how beautiful it is out here? We just out here enjoying the elements, talking finances. I'm helping somebody. Some people might be like, I already know that. You ain't talking nothing. See, that's the thing about us. It's not about what you know, it's about who you share it with. Just because you understand something doesn't mean everybody in your circle understands it. So sharing this information, sharing this video, sharing this feed, sharing a piece of what I said to somebody, that's the point. That is the point. And so we talked about that. What else? What else can I think of financially? We talked about cars. Well, honestly, car notes are great. Having a new car is fine. Leasing is unfortunately a waste of money. Only time leasing should be used is if you have a business and you running that business with that vehicle where you can write that off. But um, if you are not paying off your car and driving that car for almost equal amount of time that you paid it off, you have lost. You want to get usage out of that vehicle. That's the only way that depreciation value is going to balance itself out, is that you kept that car for a little while and you drove it without a car note for just as many years as you paid that car note. Otherwise, a vehicle is a loss. It's not an asset. Home is an asset because you can leverage it. Not because it doesn't cost money and it doesn't have costs associated with it, but it can be used as an asset if you use it properly. If you put money back into the house. So many people have their homes, they don't do nothing to their house. They don't do no upgrades, nothing. So when they go to sell that house, it ain't worth nothing because you ain't did nothing. You haven't kept up with the market and see, what is the current buzz of what people are doing in these markets nowadays to make the house sellable. Or you're not looking at the ups and the downs of the market. This is a high market. People get attached to these houses. They're be willing to move. Be willing to move on. If you want to build any kind of wealth, be willing to sell your house. Don't get attached to your house. Your house is a tool. Oh, I've been in this house forever. My family been in this house, but what have they done with the house? Most of the time, the roof falling in, the side need changing, the bricks look bad because you don't even have the bricks acid washed. We don't do anything to maintain homes. We just get them. Homes could be of value if you leverage them correctly. The key word today is leverage. Okay. Um, what else can I talk about? Hmm. Talked about credit. Talked about credit report, 401k. Okay, so people be getting into this Bitcoin. I am a Bitcoin skeptic. I understand Bitcoin is competing with the regular market, and that's what bothers me about it, is because um not that it's not a good idea. I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong. But what bothers me is the ability to pull your funds out of it. That concerns me. And the other thing that concerns me is when Wall Street either wants to pull the rug from underneath or they want to take it over. And once Wall Street takes it over, then there's no telling what direction it's going to go, how you going to get your money, all that. And see, the thing that they're fighting against is they're like, well, they're not following the rules of the 10,000 cash rule where you got $10,000 worth of cash you got to report to the IRS. Well, right now they don't have a way to report Bitcoin in that way. And what I'm concerned about is those who have been leveraging in this way and putting their money into Bitcoin and pulling money in and out, the IRS don't catch up with you. I'm not saying don't invest in Bitcoin. I'm not saying don't do your own research, but I'm saying these are the concerns that I thought of in advance. This is what I've thought of when I think about Bitcoin. I might just throw $100 in there and forget about it and not care about it and see what it do. But I haven't made that decision yet. I think it's down right now. I have to look at it again. Last resource information I've had on it is that it was down. And you're supposed to buy low, right? But that's just one of my concerns is that when it builds up, but really what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to just throw your money in there and go about your business. Find some diversification in there, some currency that you trust in or whatever other investments you want to invest in, and just leave it. Don't worry about it. And again, that's that extra money, that cousin that you loan money to that you don't care about getting the money back. You just don't give it in. They're going to pay you back, but when? So that's what market and investments are. That's what stocks are. Where to put your money in. But some stocks you got to pay more careful attention to. But some stocks will grow really fast. So that's that. I don't really know a whole lot about Bitcoin, but those are my concerns that I thought of when talking about Bitcoin and its investments. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. I think it's a risk like anything else. You got to pay attention to your risk, pay attention to your money. But if it is like money that you need, don't do it. And that's been the buzz all over the internet, all over with financial markets. I like to listen to Dr. Boyce Watkins. He's a smart man. He's got his own style, but he's a smart man. And he says invest in Bitcoin, but I'm still a skeptic. That's just me. That's just the way I am. So I think we've talked about quite a bit. There'll be more economic shows that I'll touch on, but I just think that that's one of the important things. The financial bed in which you lay in matters. So if you are good at finances and the person that you're with is not good at finances, that's going to be an uphill battle because that person's going to be leaning on you to make the finances better. And they're not always going to make the best choices. And if they can't understand the reason why they should do better, in that arena, they're not going to. They're just going to continue to look at you and say, well, you good at money. I messed my money up. Make it better, babe. It's going to cause all kind of fights in the relationship, and it's going to cause financial problems just as important as the fights in the relationship. So if you cannot marry someone or be in a relationship with someone who understands finances, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to make that headway that you want to make, or that person's going to be resentful of you because if you're the kind of person that knows how to partition it off and say, no, I'm not going to let you destroy me. I love you. I'll share this household with you, but I'm not going to let you put me into financial ruin. Then it's going to cause resentment. So that non-financial match can make a difference. Being smart with your own money, knowing what you are paying out. If you don't know what you're paying out, you kind of missing the point. You need to know what is going out and what you're bringing in. You need to compare those two numbers with each other. If you can't compare those two numbers with each other, then you're kind of in limbo. And you don't know what's going on. You're not able to make good, sound financial decisions for your future. Knowing how to save and conserve. Knowing how to loan against yourself. So if you have that 401k, knowing how to loan money against yourself and pay yourself back with interest. Good deal. It happens. It's available. It's not against the law. There's no tax burden against a loan. Loans are loans. You don't have to report that to the IRS. Now, if you withdraw that money out, you do have to report it to the IRS, and there are specific reasons in which you can withdraw your 401k, which isn't always bad. People are like, oh, don't take your money out of there. Bull crap. Sometimes you can take your money out of there. Sometimes it makes sense to take your money out of there. And there are qualifiable reasons why you can't take your money out of there. Investments are one of them. Certain kind of investments. Let's Got my umbrella up. Um, Getting your credit right, evaluating your credit report, finding someone that you trust as far as a company to help you evaluate your credit. Some people can work on their credit themselves, but some people need people who know the legal uh, uh, pathways in which you can fix your credit. That's important. That is how our society works. Our society works on credit, and if you don't know how to fix your credit and make it right, it doesn't matter. You're not going to go anywhere, unfortunately. Um, Learning all the financial tools out here. If you kind of person that can't save your money, you can't look at money and leave it there. Start looking at CDs, short-term CDs, to get you some percentage. But remember, CDs are for people who have large amounts of money. So, like I said, tax time. You don't want to touch your money. You want to sit for 6 months because you don't want to touch it. Put in a CD. It's safe. It'll be okay. Find a bank that is competitive with the CD rates. Find the highest bidder. Go for it. I'm not giving you any specifics about where to go, just ideals. I'm not a financial advisor or planner. I'm a human being who's living on this earth who has learned different things living on this earth. So if you take my advice on your own recognizance, it's because you want to try an idea, and it's because you will be responsible for whatever you choose. I'm not responsible for your choices. You are. That's my disclaimer. Okay? Um, And I think that's pretty much it. I think I've covered a good amount of solid ground to get people started. I think writing your bills down will be a good start. Um, if you all are already doing these things, then good. If um, you know someone who needs help with some of these things, help them. Take some of my ideas and help them. You know, if you're going to loan people money, my advice to you is to begin to have a conversation with these people in detail. Why do you need this money? Talk to them. What happened? Don't judge them. Just talk to them. What happened? And when you have those conversations, it makes them think too, because they're going to say, I don't want to keep having to borrow money from this individual because they're going to make me accountable. And they might go to other individuals, but they won't continue to come to you because you're going to make them financially accountable. Why do you need this money? What happened? What are you doing different? You know, what kind of decisions are you making? Why aren't you working? Are you disabled? Why haven't you filled out? I was listening to Sonetta today talk to a gentleman, and he was giving him some information, but I don't think he was that interested in giving him correct information. But if you are a person who is disabled, there are programs available in our socialistic society where you can apply for benefits. And it is a process. It does require medical professionals, and it may require an attorney. But you can get help. But you don't always have to have an attorney. But you may need that help. So we have to begin to look at these things. So anyway, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for coming. I'm going to cut this a little bit short than my normal 2 hours. I know my shows are long, but they're informative. I know they're informative. I'm giving you information that you can use and you can actually use into your life. I told you moving to the spring, I'm going to start talking about solutions. We can't continue to preach at our people and tell them, oh, I got this knowledge. I know more than you do. I need to give you practical things that you can use today. Things that you can use today that you could take back home and say, yeah, I heard a sister say blah, blah, blah. What do you think about this? We have a dialogue about it, a conversation about it. And if we begin to get ourselves financially stable again, we will begin to trust each other again. That's why I'm doing this, because I want us to begin to trust each other again. We don't trust each other because a lot of us are in shambles. A lot of us aren't very good with our finances. We're not doing very well in our own portfolios. And so it makes people look at us kind of side-eyed. Like, I can't trust you. I can't do business with you because you don't even pay your own bills correctly. And so that's what we have to do. We have to begin to work on self. Remember, this is about my balance, the self concept. Isn't that funny how I tied that back in? You didn't know it could get tied back in. Yes, those are the principles of my the power of knowing self. What am I doing myself to make my situation better? And therefore, when I make my situation better, it makes the world better, the people around me better, my family, my children, because I'm doing better. This is all self-realization. I say this to you all with love. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing my show with me. I will see y'all next time. Maya Institute out.